Well, welcome everyone. I am so excited to bring this next recording to you. I am joined with Bianca Evans, a business broker with Transworld Business Advisors, and Terri Davlantes. Did I say that right?
That's correct.
Excellent. Well, Terri is the now former owner of Jax Cooking Studio. She recently sold her business. So we want to unpack a little bit, kind of how that came together, get a little bit behind the scenes, under the hood, if you will, find out really what Terri was thinking and really how this deal was engineered to get to a successful sale. So Terri, I'll start with you. First of all, congratulations on selling your business. What a remarkable accomplishment that so few get to enjoy.
Thank you. It's been a fun run.
Excellent. Now, for those of us that are not familiar with Jax Cooking Studio, could you tell us what the business is?
Yes, I started the business about 6 years ago to teach people. We had a couple of missions in mind. One was to teach people how to cook, really to improve their health outcomes. One was to offer an entertaining experience in Jacksonville, Florida, centered around cooking. And the other was to teach kids how to cook so that they can, have a lifelong skill that will improve their health and they should contribute to their family by helping to cook for their families.
I guess cooking is a passion of yours, and you are a fantastic cook yourself.
Oh, well, I enjoy cooking. I don't know if I'm fantastic. Some things are fantastic and some aren't. But I grew up in a large family, so there was always something being cooked in the kitchen. My mom was always in that kitchen. I grew up with 8 brothers and me. And when we'd have family outings, I was usually the one to do it. And as much as I would try to move food throughout my house so that people would stay out of my kitchen, they always ended up back in my kitchen. And so when I wanted to open a business, I thought, well, there's a business model here. So I started thinking that people enjoy cooking together. It was always a blast to have people in the kitchen cooking together. And so I started to put together the idea of Jax Cooking Studio.
That's wonderful. Now, how long did you own it?
Well, been planning it for about 8 years, and we had it open for about 6 years before I decided to sell.
Okay, fantastic. How many employees?
We have anywhere from 20 to 30 people at a time. We have a big business during the summer. We do summer camps for children, and those are always a big business. But lately, we've just become more and more busy with team building events during the work week as well.
Okay, well, it sounds like a successful business. Like, why did you decide to sell?
I've got, before I started the business, I had no grandchildren, and now I've got 6 of them, and they're not located in Jacksonville. My husband retired a year ago, and while it was tempting to expand the business because I think it could easily be expanded, and I believe the new owner will expand it, it could be expanded or franchised. I looked at the timeline it would take to do that, and just decided that my time was probably better spent traveling and seeing grandkids. So I sold it to somebody else who does plan to expand it.
Well, good for you. I know when business owners are thinking about selling, they have lots of options. And Bianca is a very well-known name in the North Florida region anyway, with Transworld Business Brokers, always one of her top performers. How did you connect with her?
I do a lot of research on everything I do. So as I was talking to attorneys and insurance brokers and other business brokers who handle larger businesses than mine, the roads all came back to Bianca. And I did Google research, and Bianca gets rave reviews. So a couple of years ago, I think I scheduled a meeting with her, and wasn't ready to sell at that point, but I wanted to go ahead and get established with somebody and see if she was a good fit for me. And really enjoyed speaking with her. She was very methodical in her approach, and was able to explain things well. And I thought that this would be a good fit, and she turned out to be a great fit for me.
Well, thank you, Terri. I appreciate that. Likewise.
So Bianca, the two of you connect. And this is when you first got to look under the hood, so to speak, of the business financials and other details. Give us your first impressions, and how did you begin to formulate your thought about how you were going to market this business for a sale?
Sure. So there's lots of components that I look at. The first one is, the good old fashioned curb appeal. So, this was a business I thought that a lot of people would respond positively to. I thought it was a great business model. Now, I can make all the assumptions that I want, but at the end of the day, the market decides what is well received. And it's not like there's a lot of competitors. So it's not like I can go and say, oh gosh, there's a bunch of cooking studios that were sold. We know that's going to be a desirable industry. But I just assumed, like I said, that my first impressions of the business is that it was very well organized. There were systems in place. And a big plus was that Terri was not working 50, 60 hours in the business. She was a little more than part-time. Part of that was from home. So it would set up a new buyer for a similar good lifestyle. So they could choose, of course, to continue to grow it and franchise it and do all kinds of wonderful things with the business if they choose to do so. But they know coming into it that, there is some depth of staff. There are people in place that could handle the day-to-day. Not all the weight was on Terri's shoulders at that point when we sold the business. I'm sure that was not the case when you first started, Terri, but she built a great business with great systems.
Okay, and that made it probably a very desirable business, I would imagine.
We received a lot of inquiries and a lot of interest. So yes, it turned out to be what I suspected, a desirable business to sell.
Okay, now, because she didn't have a lot of competitors, how did you approach on how to price the business?
Well, there's a few different angles. We certainly looked at various types of comp data of businesses that are in the food industry or in the teaching industry. But at the end of the day, we have a pretty good sense of what businesses in certain parts of Florida sell for. Fort Lauderdale is not going to get the same multiplier as Jacksonville. But we know what a business based on her size is going to sell for in Jacksonville, Florida. And we also assumed that we would be able to push the envelope on that just a little bit because of the fact that she's got the systems and she had good books and records. So she checked off a lot of the desirable marks that buyers look for. So based on that is really how we determine the price.
Okay. And then I'm sure that's Terri, between you and Bianca, that's probably a collaborative conversation of what you list the business for and under what terms.
It was. So as I was starting the sales process, Bianca did a good job of explaining to me how the business valuation works. And then I got to work determining what I thought should be in the seller's discretionary earnings, because the sales price will be a multiple of that. And just did all the research, with Bianca's help, about what should be included in there. And so made sure that I included everything because I wanted that seller's discretionary earnings to be reflective of what I actually am earning and not just what the revenue is that is reported on my income tax.
Okay, right. So once we get all of that out of the way and the price settled in the terms and we get it all written up and ready to market, Bianca, once it was listed, what kind of interest did it generate and how did that unfold?
Yeah, so I have a pretty robust buyer database. So the nice thing about that is we were able to come out of the gate pretty quickly. And, with the email marketing, being a member of the Business Brokers of Florida, which has our own MLS, doing quite a bit of different business for sale type advertisements across the web. Those were all different ways that brought in quite a lot of activity on this one. And so we actually did have competitive offers out of the gate. So it did become a bit of an opportunity for Terri to decide who was going to be the best buyer for this business. Who was going to be the best person to take this business to the next level. And so, she did have the luxury of being able to do that, which is great.
Yeah, that's a good point. Terri, this was your baby. I mean, you created this from nothing, so you want to make sure that your business is in good hands and your legacy is continued in how it's serving the community. Like, how did you look at that when you had multiple buyer interest? which I guess first of all helps validate your pricing structure and price integrity, right? Because the only way to really trying to find out the true value of a business is you've got to have more than one party interested. But moving beyond the financials, was there a better fit than others as far as personality or background?
Well, I was looking for somebody that would have the ability, both from a previous experience standpoint. So what tool sets do they have under their belts right now? And also who had the financial wherewithal to be able to expand the business. I was looking to have a greater impact on teaching cooking lessons, besides just at Jax Cooking Studio on Beach Boulevard. So we evaluated those basically based on those primary criteria and came up with, I think, what we found was the best fit.
I love it. Beautiful. So Bianca, at this point, you've got multiple parties interested that are putting their best offer forward. You chose one. As that happened, you move into the due diligence phase where they take a deeper look at the business performance. There must have been some challenges that came up in that process, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, first of all, it goes back to Terri's organization. So I loved her as a seller because she was efficient in getting me the information that I needed. She didn't make us wait weeks. Anytime there's a gap in how long it takes people to get their data together or gaps in the level of organization in the data that we receive, it creates doubts in the buyer's mind. That did not happen with Terri, which was fantastic. Now, that said, I think the adversity in this on the front end was only trying to prepare a few components of her business. So again, what she said earlier about making sure the seller's discretionary earnings was appropriately reflected. And so we did spend some time on the front end making sure her gift cards were in order, making sure that she understood which the redemption rates and what that would look like in terms of a liability for the buyer moving forward. Really, the only adversity on the back end was just that lenders are going to do what lenders want to do. And in this case, the lender just took far longer than was anticipated. So the challenge with that is it's hard to make plans to exit a business when there's a moving target. So it was it was a little bit of a hardship having to move that goalpost out a few times, and it was very frustrating for all parties involved. So sometimes, despite our best efforts, there's going to be adversity in the program that you just can't anticipate coming out of the gate.
Understood. Did with the lender being slow, did that ever threaten the deal to fall apart?
Who are you asking?
I guess you go ahead, Terri. The lender took a while to come through on their end. Did that ever put the deal in jeopardy?
First of all, let me say that I anticipated that it would be a lot longer than this. We signed our agreement in September, and it was closed in late January. So that's not a huge amount of time. So it went well, and you had the holidays in there as well. So it was frustrating at the end when the closing date kept getting moved. Did it threaten it? No, it never did. I knew that the current purchaser was the right person for the business, and we were going to make it through.
Okay, awesome. And then, so Bianca, from the time that the business was listed to sold, how much time had elapsed?
Well, I think Terri knows that better than I do. I mean, it sounds like what we went to market in September, you said?
I believe so, yes. So, we put it up on a Monday, and right away we had a couple offers. Is that right? And I think
it was pretty quick. I would say within it might have been a couple of weeks before we got the first offer, but yes, it was pretty quick. And I think that was because there were a few buyers out there that were looking for good businesses to buy. So when this one came up, they were ready. They had already looked at a lot of things that they knew they didn't want. So when this one came up, and again, I think the depth of staff, the fact that part of Terri's work was from home, she wasn't working 40 hours a week. I think those were all huge positives. And she also has good cash flow. it was a good sized business where it wasn't so big that it would be a huge stretch for someone to buy in most cases. But it wasn't so small where, you couldn't make a good living. So I think the size also played a part in that.
Okay. Excellent. Sounds like things moved along relatively quickly. Not all sales were like that, of course, as we know, but this one worked out pretty nicely.
Yeah.
So Terri, closing day, the money hits your account. How are you feeling?
Oh, it's a mixture of really excited and sad. You built up these great relationships with customers and with my staff and just the whole mission of it. So that's sad that that chapter of your life is closing. But it's nice to have the money to kind of as a recognition, I guess, of that you built something that was pretty cool and of value to the community and to the new owner.
Absolutely. So with money comes freedom and flexibility to now, I guess, spend more time with the grandkids. What does a day in the life look like for Terri now?
Well, I included 3 weeks of training in there, so I didn't finish that until last week. And I guess Friday or so, and then I've had some issues in my personal life, so I am just now realizing that I have this whole day ahead of me and trying to figure out what to do with it. So I'm sure I will find out something to do with it, but it's nice to have that ability to get up and read or garden or whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's the point. You can, now that you're done with the training obligation, you still can define what the day in life looks like.
Right.
I'm going to live vicariously through Terri. So that's at least for a few more years. So
yeah, for the record, I'm very jealous. Yeah.
Exactly. I remember my mom had me out there, with the Jacksonville Journal throwing papers when I was 9 years old, paper route, and then move on to other things. So when you've been working your whole life, it's kind of an adjustment to all of a sudden come to a standstill of not having to get up and do something. So it is sad.
I bet.
There's probably a business model in that, don't you think?
Yeah. See, once an entrepreneur, Bianca, always an entrepreneur. She's always thinking about
That's right. No question.
So Terri, looking back on it, if you had some advice for others, or is there anything else you would do differently? Give us a hint.
I think that the old adage that when you're starting a business, you're also looking at how you're going to exit that business. And I think that that's true. So, a few years ago when I started thinking that, eventually I'm going to exit this business, I made sure that I hired somebody to help me make sure my books were in order and that we had a good accounting system. And, we were always keeping good records. So I think that really helps you you're not in such a panic when you do decide to sell, because you already have the procedures and your books in order. So I think that was certainly something that I would recommend. I've always been somebody who likes to be prepared ahead of time. So that would be my advice to other entrepreneurs who are thinking that maybe one day they're going to want to exit the business.
And I'm grateful for you giving that advice, Terri, because, you should be building your business to sell. And so few people do. They think they're going to be running it forever. And, they sometimes, you get so involved in the day-to-day that you forget to take a step back and look at the big picture. And that's something that I would say all business owners should do. They need to take a step back and decide, if I'm going to be unavailable for a month, do I have somebody to handle the day-to-day of the business? And if the answer is no, guess what? That's going to be a hard sale for me, to find a buyer that has whatever skill set that completely matches what the seller has, and B, somebody who, is willing to step in that role without support. Because if something, once the seller is gone, if the buyer is an island, if they don't have anyone on their team to help support them. And that's a tough position for a buyer to be in.
Right. Definitely. So Bianca, for anybody listening to this that is inspired by Terri's story and wants to connect with you, what is the best way to do that?
Absolutely. Email is great. My first name, Bianca, Bianca @ Tworld.com. That's T, short for transworld.com. And then feel free to also look at my personal website, biancabroker.com. You can go there for some additional information about selling your business, as well as you could take a look at what businesses are available out there for sale.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, ladies, thank you very much. Terri, I'll let you go this morning. It's a nice beach day out there. Bianca and I are going to be working. I guess maybe you're going to the beach or something.
Right. Well, enjoy that. All right. Nice to speak with you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.